Nobody wins when the family feels.
Oh my goodness! Darius Miles!
Darius Miles, I'm from Washington, D.C., and a couple things you should know about me is I'm goofy. My second sport was football. I played quarterback, and I love to watch action movies.
New details. A judge has denied bond for former Alabama basketball player Darius Miles. Court documents show probable cause was established during a preliminary hearing today. Miles faces capital murder charges in connection to the shooting death of Jamia Harris. The case is now set for a grand jury. During that same hearing, a Tuscaloosa police officer testified, saying freshman standout Brandon Miller brought the gun to Miles. He says Miller received a text from his now former teammate telling him to bring the weapon. Alabama head basketball coach Nate Oates later spoke on the news, saying Miller isn't facing any trouble.
We knew about that. I mean, you can't control everything anybody does outside of practice. Nobody knew that was going to happen. College kids are out. Brandon hasn't been in any type of trouble, nor has he in any type of trouble in this case.
The state says that based on Alabama law, it cannot charge Miller with any crime for bringing the weapon to Miles. Nate Oates later apologized for his earlier statements, saying he needed to clarify his intentions. Oates says, quote, "This entire time, I've tried to be thoughtful in my words relative to this tragic incident, and my statements came across poorly. We were informed by law enforcement of other student athletes being in the vicinity, and law enforcement has repeatedly told us that no other student athletes were suspects. They were witnesses only. Our understanding is that they have all been fully truthful and cooperative."
On the first week of May in 2025, a college basketball player best friend was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole after a 5-day trial for a crime that was committed over 2 years ago. And get this, according to this trial, which we'll later break down, the prosecutor believed the man who provided the firearm was the guy who had the brightest future, the ticket, the guy he was set to protect, the hometown hero, due to his gift and dedication to basketball. The 6'7" small forward from Washington, D.C., Darius Miles. Darius was a 3-star prospect coming out of high school. He attended IMG Academy, accepted his offer for the University of Alabama on a full ride to play basketball from 2020 to 2023 before his incident. While at Alabama, he primarily played as a reserve, appearing in 53 games with 2 starts. He was also a key figure in the 2020 recruiting class.
I grew up in Southeast. My grandma, she had an apartment in Parknella.
Okay.
That's over there, like close to Good Hope Road, Pennsylvania Avenue. That's like up the street from Pennsylvania.
Oh my goodness! Darius Miles!
Darius Miles, you kidding me? Coming right to your living room. Oh, he just flushes it home. Gets up high. Forget hanging on the rim when you can get up high enough and just throw that thing in.
To, dropping easy games.
All right, Darius?
Honestly, just learning lessons. That's what us as a team usually look at when we take losses. Just learning lessons, figuring out what we need to work on to put a full 40 minutes of basketball together. And that's really it, honestly.
But here's the thing, the hometown star athlete has yet to go to trial. But now, we finally got a motive. And later in this video, we disclose that motive. Go over the details in this incident, pay our respects to the victim, and see where we stand today. But before we go over this one, I want you guys to remember, I won't give you no angle. I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to jump right to it. On January 14th, 2023, Alabama men's basketball was hosting LSU. At the time, Alabama was 14-1, and LSU was 12-4. Approaching halftime, Jaden Bradley hits a first half buzzer beater as Alabama heads into the locker room up 37 points.
Yeah, you just knew it, right? Count it.
Alabama will go on and win the game by 40 points, 106-66, making their record for the year 15-2 and 12-5 for LSU. To celebrate being ranked number 1 in the nation, Miles went to go plan an evening with Davis, Brandon Miller, and Jaden Bradley. Miller and Bradley were Miles' teammates. Davis, of course, as we just mentioned, was the best friend of Miles, but was not affiliated with the team. They met up at the VI at University Downs apartment complex prior to going out. Bradley drove Davis to 1225, sports bar on the Strip. Miller drove Miles there. But during this 5-day trial, Davis had testified that the line was too long, so instead he went to Moe's barbecue, while Miles, Bradley, and Davis went into 1225 together and left once it closed. Miles, Bradley, and Davis left the bar and walked across University Boulevard. A black Jeep Wrangler sat parked at a stop sign with its hazards on. Inside that Jeep was a 23-year-old mom of one, Jamia Harris. She was in the passenger. Her boyfriend, a man identified as Cedric Johnson, was in the driver. In the back seat was Harris' cousin, a young woman identified as Asia Humphrey. Now, Miles didn't initially stop at the Jeep, but Davis did. He danced to the front left of it, but then Cedric rolled the driver's side back seat window down. As Davis walked up, had a confrontation with Cedric. Now, testimony differed as to what exactly was said between the two, but Davis testified that he called Cedric out to have a fist fight. But Miles came back to the Jeep and pulled Davis away from the Jeep. Johnston testified. Eventually, the trio walked away from the Jeep. Miles had a quote, common effect, end quote, on Davis, Bradley had told police. Per testimony from 2023, which the Family TV will request once the completion of this investigation. Miles told police he saw a gun pass back to Cedric while at the Jeep. Cedric and Humphreys confirmed during this Davis trial that Cedric testified Harris slid him his gun after Davis told him he whacked people. Davis denied saying that during his testimony. Miles got Davis away from the Jeep because he saw the gun, Miles told police. Miles, Davis, and Bradley walked behind Hudstow back to Braley's car. At 1:38 a.m., Miller texted Miles to let him know he was on his way to pick him up from the strip. 9 seconds later, Miles texts Miller, quote, I need my joint. A nigga just real lie got the fake, end quote. And for those who don't know, joint is a DC term for firearm. Now, Miller told the jury it meant, quote, somebody was trying to scare somebody, end quote. According to AEL.com, during the trial last week, an attorney for Davis asked Miller, quote, when you received this text message, you knew Darius wanted that firearm. It's because someone was threatening him, right? Question mark, end quote. Miller had answered, quote, correct. Miles got in the car with Bradley in his two-door Dodge Challenger and drove back to Gray Street. Meanwhile, Davis went to, quote, look for the Jeep, end quote. Bradley had testified. Bradley had quoted, he was worried about the Jeep, end quote. Miles and Bradley drove to Gray Street to, quote, to check on Buzz, end quote. Bradley testified, Buzz is Davis' nickname. Miles and Bradley parked on the right side of Gray Street. Miller pulled up behind them in his Dodge Charger and also parked. Miles walked up to Davis and Skylar X's, which is Miles' girlfriend. Then the three walked back to the two cars. Miles and Davis then walked to the back right of Miller's car, while S's waited by Bradley's car. Dash cam audio from Miller's car made it possible to hear what Davis and Miles said in the back of the car. Testimony from Davis and a police investigator confirmed who said what. Quoted, the heat is in the hat, end quote, from Miles. Response from Davis, quote, is there one in the head, end quote. Miles had responded, you know it is. The conversation referred to a handgun and that a bullet was in the chamber, per testimony from an investigator. A police investigator testified in 2023. He relied on this conversation captured on the dash cam that Miles aided and abetted a capital murder. After Miles emerged from the back of the Dodge Charger, he walked back to his girlfriend, who was standing at the front of the car. Davis went a different direction. Miles moved Essence and her friend off Gray Street to an area behind Houndstooth. Davis told Darius to take him home. Essence had testified. Miles walked behind towards Miller and Braley's car on Gray Street. Then he walked by both cars, continued to walk past the Jeep that had ended up right behind Miller's car. The Jeep did not have his headlights on. Johnston testified that he switched them off about 2 minutes prior. Miles glanced into the Jeep when he walked by. Humphreys testified. Miles also flipped his hood on his jacket when he walked by the Jeep. In that moment, Davis emerged from behind two buildings. Miles flipped the hood back down right after. Miles continued walking and disappeared from his view and off view of the surveillance camera. He left the scene and was not on Gray Street when Davis ran up to the driver's side window and shot into the Jeep. Miles' next known action, he and Essence picked up Davis, who was on foot after the shooting. Davis testified they went back to Via at University Downs, the apartment complex where they started the night. Davis testified he gave the gun back to Darius Miles. Davis also said he did not know what Miles did with the gun. Police investigators Brandon Culpepper testified that the firearm was found at the apartment where the group went before and after the time of the strip. Firearm was in a closet in a drawer wrapped in a Gatorade towel. So at this point, we know that the person who pulled the trigger had testified on his homeboy who haven't set to take trial. And we also know that wasn't needed because According to the investigator who was investigating this case, he determined that Miles was just as guilty because of a conversation that was captured on the dash of the Tesla. And to be point blank, a Tesla solved this murder. Nonetheless, on the first week of May of 2025, Darius Miles, the basketball star who's been incarcerated since January of 2023, he just witnessed his best friend, Michael Davis, tell on him and still get life in prison, all while he still wait for a trial date.
In Tuscaloosa will spend the rest of his life in prison after being found guilty of capital murder today.
Michael Davis found guilty by a jury for the shooting death of Birmingham's Jamea Harris.
WVTM 13's Jarvis Robertson is joining us live now with how Harris's family is responding to the news.
Michael Davis and Darius Miles are both charged in connection to Jamea Harris's death. Now, today, one of the suspects learned his next chapter. We did have a chance to hear from her parents after court, and they were very pleased with the jury's verdict.
You know, it can go any way but guilty.
DeCarla Hurd has felt the heartache ever since January 2023, when her daughter, Jamea Harris, was killed on the Tuscaloosa Strip.
We watched 5 days of every angle, and it was gut-wrenching to me because I had 5 days of watching how my child died.
During the trial of Michael Davis, one of the suspects in Jamea's death, he learned his fate, life behind bars without parole.
And I am forever grateful to Paula Whitley and the district attorney's office, everybody who worked on this, Brandon Culpepper with the Violent Crimes Unit, Tuscaloosa Police Department. I want to say thank you. They have made my Mother's Day.
Jamea's stepdad, Kelvin Hurd, is proud of the jury and how they remained focused. He describes the defense's strategy as distracting.
The way he tried to besmirch Jamea's name, I felt that was uncalled for. It was extremely insensitive.
Her father, Johannan Harris, was nervous about the process, but knows the right verdict was rendered Friday.
Jamea is my only daughter, which I lost to violence, but justice was served today.
There's no denying the pain inflicted on both sides of this case. Family members for the suspect also have to deal with the consequences of Davis's actions.
We're not dancing around their hurt because I've seen hurt. I've seen what this has done to my wife.
Jamea left behind a small child, one that will remember his mom through the different memories of the heart, pictures, and stories family will tell. And that's exactly what will happen this weekend.
I'm going home to her baby right now, and I'm going to hug him tight, and I'm going to take him to see his mother in Montgomery, and we are going to spend Mother's Day at her grave.
Again, Michael Davis has been sentenced to life without parole. Former basketball player Darius Miles is being...
It's a crazy story. Just knowing all this could have been avoided, and knowing the backstory that this young girl lost her life because some dudes had egos with firearms inside parked vehicles. But knowing what you know now, fam, what you think the future is for Darius Miles? A similar sentence? A lesser sentence? And is it rightfully so? Talk to me in the comments. Once again, rest in peace to the victim. Love and condolences to her family. Fam, I'll catch you guys on the next one.